Hello everyone, welcome to yourfaculty.com. Today we are going to deal with problems on averages. This is our website www.yourfaculty.com. You can take test preparations, questions over there. You can also visit us on our Facebook page, Your Faculty. For each of the questions that we are going to practice in this particular topic, average, there are two methods that I'm going to adopt. One is a traditional calculation where we know we apply the basic principles of average and we do it. The other thing is I'm going to teach you certain shortcuts using which, if you practice that very well, you'll be able to solve questions in less than a minute. So I'm going to teach both the techniques for almost all the questions, and let's see. Do share your feedback on the shortcut, and I believe it will be very useful for you. Okay. So first of all, average. What is an average? To understand the concept, let's try to first come up with a definition for that. So average is basically sum of all the numbers, sum of all the values by total number of values. So this is basically units, number of units that are there, and this is sum of all the units, right? Now, what does an average mean? Let's say my average marks is 75. The other way to look at it is I scored 75 in all the 6 subjects, and that is why my average is 75. Okay. Now, but in reality what happens? I might score in one subject 50, in one subject 100, certain subjects 60 and all that. But when you add up all my marks and then divide it by 6, I added all my marks and then divided it by 6, I got an average of 75. So from a quick calculation point of view, you can always assume that the individual marks that I scored is 75 for you to calculate things in a very much faster pace. Okay, I believe you will be able to understand it better and appreciate this concept in a much better fashion when we start solving some of the problems. Okay, let's move on to our first question. David obtained 76, 65, 82, 67 and 85 marks out of 100 in English, Maths, Physics, Chemistry and Biology. What are his average marks? Very simple. What do? We need to add 76 plus 65 plus 82 plus 67 plus 85 and divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 subjects. And what do you get? You get 375 by 5, and the answer is, you don't have 75 here. The answer is what? 75, and hence it is none of these. So you understood what I'm trying to do here. We just did a simple problem, and we'll now move on to slightly more a tricky problem. The average of 20 numbers is 0. When can the average be 0? When the sum is equal to 0. Why is that so? We know the formula for average is equal to sum by total number of units, right? Here we know the units are 20, and only if the sum is 0, your average will be 0. And when will the sum be 0? When there are certain negative quantities in it and they finally get cancelled out with a positive quantity, right? Now how many negatives are there, how many positives are there, depends on how you want to do it. Now here they are said at the most, of them at the most, how many may be greater than 0? So this particular entity will have many negative numbers, maybe a 0 in it, many positive. Now they're saying at the most how many may be greater than 0. So in that case, it is quite possible that all the numbers are either negative or 0 except for one number that cancels out rest of the negative or negative values, right? So what is quite possible? It's quite possible that 19 numbers are positive or negative, right? And one number can be positive or negative. Now the question is, at the most, how many can be greater than 0? At the most. So 19 can be positive and 1 can be negative. So all the numbers are positive and one number which is sum of all these numbers which is negative, and that cancels out and the sum becomes 0. So since it is saying at the most or at most, the word could be at most or at the most or whatever. Okay, how many are greater than 0? The maximum that we can think of is 19 because the 20th number is going to cancel out all the other positive numbers. Okay, so let's move on to, so these are two options that are available here since they are asked for at most greater than 0. Now it is at most less than 0. So we now have to put 19 negatives, right? 19 negative and 1 positive. Moving on to next question. Find the average of all the numbers between 6 and 34 which are divisible by 5. Very, 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 very easy question. Now, this 34 could be 134 also. Still, you should be able to do it in a very quick pace. Now, let's try to write down what are the numbers that are there. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now, in these cases, when it is a series, when is it a series? When the difference between the one number and the next number is constant across, then it becomes a series, right? In the case of a series, you can blindly take the middle number if it is, the total number of units that we see is odd here, right? We have totally 5 numbers mentioned over here. In such cases, you can blindly take the middle number as the average. That would be the answer. You don't even have to do the calculation. All right? I hope you understand this. Now, you can increase it to 35, 40, 45, 50. So all that you need to do is count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If it is 9, the fifth number is the average. Take this. That's it. Right? So it's very simple. You just need to apply this concept that I have explained now. So now, we are slightly moving to a slightly more difficult. It's not very difficult. I would say it's again a very simple question. The average of 5 numbers is 27. If one number is excluded, the average becomes 25. The excluded number is. Okay. So we know that. I'll just apply a traditional method. We know that the average of 5 numbers is 27. So what is the sum by unit number of units? Is equal to average, right? So what do we have here? We have average, we don't know the sum, and number of units is equal to 5 numbers. So what is the sum? Sum is equal to 27 into 5. And what is that? 135. If one number is excluded, the average becomes 25. So what is the new average when one number is excluded? It's 25. So what is the sum of all the numbers in that case? 25 into 4. Why did I write 4 here? Earlier it was 5 numbers and now one number is removed and hence now it becomes 4 and that's 100. So what is the excluded number? 135 minus 100, 35. The excluded number is, I'm just writing it for you, 135 minus 100. Isn't it very simple? Now moving on to next question. The average of runs of a cricket player is 10 in 10 innings is 32. How many runs must he make in his next innings so as to increase his average by 4? From now on, I'll start showing you some techniques. Okay. So what is that they are saying? Let's try to understand that his current average is how much? 32. So his total number of runs is 32 into 10, which is 320. Right? His new average is how much that they are expecting? 32 plus 4. They're saying to increase average by 4, right? And what should be his sum in that case? This is equal to 36. Now the number of matches are going to, innings are going to change. So it is 36 into 11, right? Which is how much? 396. So what happens? How many runs must he take in the next innings? So in at the end of 11 matches, his total is 396. At the end of 10 matches, his total is 320. So what was the runs he scored in the 11th match, 11th innings? 396 minus 320, which is 76. Now, to the other way to look at this in solving such kind of problems is to see that if in one innings his average has to go to 36, that 4 runs has to be distributed across these 10 innings, right? And of course the 11th innings also. So this 4 runs, if he scores 32 in the next innings also, 11 innings 32, the average is going to be 32. Now the average has to increase by 4. So that 4 runs has to be distributed across all these 11 innings. So what happens? So 44 extra runs he needs to take over and above 32 runs that he anyway has to score to maintain an average of 32. So 44 plus 32 is the additional runs. 34 is the extra runs and 32 is the correct thing. So 44 plus 32 is the runs that he has to take, which is 76. 44 plus 32 is equal to what? 76. Please note what I did here today. Now, you don't even have to write these kind of calculations if this technique is applied. We know that in 10 innings his average is 32. If he scores 32 in the 11th innings, what will his average be? His average is going to remain same at 32, right? So 32 runs is anyway scored for granted. But what are they saying? His average is to increase average by 4 runs. So if that 4 runs has to come, that 4 runs has to be add in all the 11 innings. All the 11 innings, that 4 runs has to be multiplied. Only then the average across can be increased by 4. So 32 is anyway scored and 4 into 11 runs has to be scored extra, which is 44, and 32 plus 42 is 32 plus 44 is 76. You don't have to do any of these calculations in that case, right? Thanks for watching our video. You can subscribe to more videos at your faculty channel. Like us on our Facebook page and our LinkedIn page, and you can also follow us on Twitter. Thank you.